Welcome back, casual gardeners. We are not in my garden. We're at the Red Butte Garden and Arboretum today in Salt Lake City, Utah. It is the most beautiful botanical garden, in the whole state of Utah. And I am joined today by Crystal, who has been gracious enough to talk to us about the garden specifically and some things that we can be working on now that it's October in our own gardens. And Crystal, what is your job here?
Hi, I am Crystal Kim. I am the Associate Director of Horticulture, and I've been here for 20 years.
So when was the garden established? How old is this garden?
The garden is officially about to turn 40. Next year's our 40th anniversary. But the garden beginnings of the garden started in the 1930s when Walter Cottam, a professor of biology at the university, started with some oak hybridization experiments. And then the university campus was designated a state arboretum in the 1960s.
A lot of botanical gardens will have like a focus for the garden. Earlier this year, I was at the San Francisco Botanical Garden, and their focus is they're trying to do a lot with cloud forests because they have a unique environment for supporting cloud forests just in that spot, which is a happy accident. And is there a particular focus of this garden? Or are we just doing all the things here?
We're kind of doing all the things, but one thing that we do feel like we want to do and focus on are plants that do really well here in Utah, that people can grow in their own gardens. We want to show how people can use different plants in their own gardens. And we have started an emphasis on water conservation initiatives and plants that will do well in low water conditions, since that's a very important thing here in our region.
So that's something to keep in mind. Just as with the Conservation Garden Park, that I'm going to link to that video as well in the description, you should be taking advantage of your local botanical gardens to get a feel for how to take full advantage of your climate and garden in a way that is going to really work for you in your climate. That's probably like the biggest benefit of a botanical garden in your area. And gosh, go visit them because they're always amazing.
I agree.
So I noticed there's quite a lot to this garden, like a lot. I could spend hours here. What are some of the displays or plantings or sections that you'd like to highlight in the garden?
Wow, we have so many diverse garden areas, each with their own character and theme and different types of plants that they contain. We have 21 acres of developed gardens, and then in addition to that, we have about 75 acres of hiking trails. So there's a lot to be seen here. We might as well start with the Four Seasons Garden, which is where we're standing right now. This is the first garden you see when you walk out of the visitor center into the garden. It's a beautiful garden that contains plants, as its name, that are of interest all year long. And this is a large garden. There's hillsides surrounding it, and so big swaths of plantings, which is very lovely and inspirational, I think. So this time of year we have the ornamental grasses and some different coneflowers and other things blooming. One of the other wonderful sections of the garden are the terrace gardens. They consist of the herb garden, medicinal garden, and fragrance garden, which is pretty self-explanatory. The fragrance garden is a place where a lot of weddings take place, which is lovely. There's a gorgeous wisteria arbor that is fantastic in the spring. We also have a children's garden that's a lot of fun. We have our water conservation garden, which is a newer garden area, which has an amazing collection of plants that do really well in our climate with less water. We also have a couple of ponds. Red Butte Creek flows through our property, and so there's some interesting, kind of a calmer, shadier feel for that area of the garden. We also have a gorgeous rose garden that showcases not only roses, over 900 plants, around 100 varieties, but also many other plants, so that people could see how to use roses in their own yard without having an area that's just roses. And that's another wonderful wedding spot as well. And the floral walk is another, a long path that connects the upper and lower gardens and just has some really beautiful things along the length. So I would say those are the highlights of the garden, and anyone who comes here can just take a stroll, get some inspiration, enjoy the peacefulness of the garden.
Excellent suggestion. Do visit this garden if you live anywhere in Utah. What are some things that we can be doing right now in our gardens to get ready for our long winter sleep?
Well, one thing that I would like to emphasize is that this is a great time of year for planting. Plants love to be planted in the fall. We're going into cooler weather, and so that gives the plants a nice chance to get established before the cold of winter without extreme heat. And roots grow really well this time of year, and they'll continue to grow until it gets really cold. So getting some new plants in the garden is always nice, especially plants that look great in the fall. Add some fall interest to your garden. Some other things that can be done this time of year are just tidying up the garden. So starting to cut down herbaceous perennials, leaving up the ones that might provide some winter interest or some winter food for birds and wildlife or shelter for pollinators. Just overall tidying. It's just a nice time of year to kind of button up the garden for the winter.
Yeah, I did notice that you've got some undead-headed black-eyed Susan or Rudbeckia right there, and some beautiful coneflowers behind us that still have the seeds on. These are excellent food for birds in the fall and into winter. If you want to support your local wildlife, do support your local wildlife. So are there specific examples? I know we're all thinking of the tulips and the spring blooming bulbs. Beyond that, what are some great plants to specifically be putting in the ground right now?
I think that you could plant just about anything you wanted to this time of year. So it's nice to visit nurseries and garden centers, see what they have that looks interesting this time of year, so you can get some new fall interest plants in your garden. So ornamental grasses, this is their time to shine. I love those. We have a lot of those here throughout the garden. Fall blooming perennials are nice to focus on as well. Not just mums that we see most commonly, but asters and leadwort and hummingbird mint, and behind us is this gorgeous obedient plant. So there's a lot of really cool plants that show off this time of year. So you could plant just about anything you want to. So
that big wash of purple behind us, that's obedient plant?
Yeah.
That is a beautiful plant, especially planted in a big planting like that. Would you say this is also a really great time for transplanting?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a great time of year. Any kind of planting, whether it's transplanting or planting new plants, they'll do really well in the next few weeks before cold temperatures arrive.
Maybe a little bulb division.
Yep,
separate
exactly.
stuff out.
I think another important task, which may not be as obvious, is making sure your plants are well hydrated, especially if we're not getting a lot of rain. It's been really dry lately. And so making sure the plants are well hydrated going into winter, that's going to help them a lot. And also that will assist with them getting established. And like for flowering bulbs, for example, obviously when they're planted this time of year, they're dormant. But once they're planted and well watered in, then they will start growing their roots. And so that's really important to get those established so they can bloom well in the spring.
So keep a special eye on making sure things stay watered this time of year. That's actually really important for trees as well. It's easy to forget to water our trees in the fall, and you want to be getting out there and giving them good soaks at least weekly, just to get them ready for their long sleep.
Definitely.
We're here in the garden in October. Why should we even bother visiting a garden in October?
Well, a well-planned garden is going to look beautiful every month, every week of the year. There are so many great things to see, and I think it's a good place for people to get some ideas, some inspiration about what to plant in their gardens, especially if their gardens are looking a little more drab in late summer and fall. Coming here, you can see like what looks good, what's blooming, what has beautiful seed heads, maybe some beautiful fruits like crab apples, beautiful fall color, like not just the traditional things that you think about like beautiful vivid trees, but also like oak leaf hydrangeas, and even the grasses that are blooming this time of year. Also, many of them develop beautiful fall color. So it's a good way to get something that make your own garden pop a little bit more in fall.
Thank you so much, Crystal, for agreeing to talk to us a little bit about this amazing garden. So just really quick, what times of day in the fall is the garden open?
The garden is open starting October through the winter from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
9 to 5, be here. Get away from, play hooky from work, come here. All right, well, thank you again.
Thank you, Dustin.
Really amazing having an excuse to come here.
Good, anytime you want to visit, we will welcome you.
All the time. That was so much fun. Before you go, I do want to mention a few things about this video and some of the information in it so that you can visit the garden if you want to, and so that you can find my other videos about botanical gardens. Now, the first thing I want to make sure we're clear on is that this is the very first video where I've used 2 cameras, and that is, well, it was really kind of cool, but I noticed that one of the factors that weren't so cool was that it looks a lot like I'm focusing on myself and kind of diminishing Crystal in this video. I want you to know that that was not my intention. So what happened is I got a new camera, this one. It is a GoPro Hero 13. Thanks, YouTube, giving me a discount. So I've got a crack in the lens on this camera so that I get that awful lens flare. So I needed to switch cameras. Because I switched cameras, there's a compatibility issue with my, my microphone set. They don't work with that camera, only that camera. So I had the second camera set up just so that I could get some decent sound in my interview, because all of this came up like the day before the interview and I didn't have time to fix anything. So there I was, and I just recorded everything intending to use just that angle. But this angle also kind of looked good sometimes. And so I thought to myself, I think it'll be more fun if I cut back and forth. And so I did. But because I didn't put any planning into the camera angles, well, it was all about me, wasn't it? But man, Crystal was awesome. And I did not mean to make it look like that. I did include a lot of information down in the description. I've got a link to the Red Butte Garden and Arboretum website that you will find down there. I've got links to other videos I've done about botanical gardens. So make sure you're checking in the description for that information. I did identify a few of the plants in the video. Those identifications are tenuous. I'm pretty sure about most of them, but some of them I'm not so sure. I tried to note those in the video, but please correct me in the comments where I'm wrong so that people reading the comments will know what the actual plants are if they want to go get them some, because that's what I was thinking I would need that information for. I want to thank everyone who is subscribed to my channel and does a good job liking my videos. If you do enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel. The more subscribers I have, the more likely I am to have the time to do these videos where I go out and find professionals and I get to interview them and spend time with them and share their work with you, which honestly is even more fun than what I do in my own garden. So like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the little notification bell. If you want to support me further, there is an option. Just look down below and click that join button. For $1.99, you can support me, and that's all you get. But for $5.99 a month, there are additional perks that you can get. Plus, if I have enough support, I can start maybe going to some more exciting botanical gardens and sharing what I find with you. Thank you for joining me in my garden today and at the Red Butte Garden and Arboretum. I hope you have a wonderful time in your own garden.